And that's the follow-up, so important. One, it helps you look keen and eager for it. Two, you make sure you get verbal confirmation of what happened in the process. You might not have been successful. Why?
Today on the podcast, we're joined by James from Cranel, a specialist lead generation company for the built environment. James works with construction business owners and businesses all across the country to help them drive more business. And that's either by targeting the right customers, picking up the phone and actually calling those target customers and doing the follow-up work to make sure that those deals land. Thank you, James, for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you, Gabriel. Nice to be here.
So in this episode, we're going to be digging into what contractors typically get wrong about sales, where they're potentially losing deals, and what they can do to actually improve their sales process. I'm sure a lot of contractors come to you and say, hey, we need more sales. What's the first thing that we should be focusing on to actually drive more sales for our business?
So when you need more sales, you've got to start off creating more opportunities. And the first thing you've got to think about is where's your target market? So many times you can talk to different people with products and services in construction, and they can service anyone. Take your typical M&E company. Every project needs M&E. But what we always say is, where's your sweet spot? Where do you specialise in? Is it in the residential developers? Is it within education, social housing, industry? That's a really important thing, because sometimes having something there where you can target everyone is too big. If you become a specialist in an area, people become to trust you a lot more. So it's a great way to target. Think, okay, that's where I'm going to look at first, and then you can start with what my message will be, all focused around the right target audience.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think we've learned the same thing, to be fair. We started out sort of targeting any construction company, and we quickly realized just by looking at our actual customer base that where it works best is either for high-end resi or specialist subcontractors, right? And focusing on that specific area of the market means that we actually spend more of our time on deals that are more likely to close. So definitely agree with that approach. Just to kind of dig in a little bit more then, why would you say it's the wrong approach for contractors to target everyone that they could potentially serve?
Good question. I suppose it's all about credibility and trust. I always say in the industry, the reason people buy is because of trust. So many people think about its price and all this sort of thing, but it's trust. They need to sit down and trust that you're going to deliver what you've said you do. When that QS appoints a new subby that they've never worked with before, it's all about them being able to sleep at night thinking they're going to do the job. And if they know that you've done jobs in a similar market, you mentioned the high-end residential industry, very different from dealing with multiple occupation premises. There's certain things that you need to understand, and if you can demonstrate you've done it in the past, it gives a lot of confidence to that person to appoint you to do it in the future.
So once you've picked the right target market and you're starting to see that focusing on a specific market really works well, how do you then craft a message that makes sense, or really how do you craft a good message for that audience or for the type of buyers that you're targeting?
So for all our clients, if they're using us for lead generation, we get on the phone and talk to their potential clients on their behalf. The most important thing is to be able to say what you do in as few words as possible. Yeah, you don't want to be going into lots of wordy paragraphs, conversations that people just don't have the time to listen to. I always say you need to be able to explain what you do as if you're talking to one of your grandparents. And that they understand and go, I know what you do. And it's all about painting a picture so that what you're saying, they can visualize the picture in their head very quickly. And I believe that's true whether or not that's being spoken or whether or not it's written marketing, any form of marketing. It's got to be someone's got to be able to see it, understand it, and suddenly go, I'm willing to give you my most valuable commodity. and that's my time.
And just to give us an example there, so if you're working with, let's say, I don't know, an electrical subcontractor, and they're trying to get into tier 1 main contractors, do you work with your client to craft that message? And what would that typically sound like for a subcontractor like that?
Yeah, so if we were working with we'll go back to a mechanical electrical company that wants to get into top tier 1s, we go through an implementation first to understand the sort of work that they've done, the credibility that they've got. And it's very much, I always say, you get on the phone, you talk to someone and you say who you are, what you do, and you establish credibility. So it'd be something along the lines of, good morning, hi, James Maguire here, calling from ABC M&E. We're a 130-year-old business, going back families of generations. But we've worked on prestigious projects throughout the capital, including Battersea Power Station, for example. Just want to have a chat to you about your future projects. So those things are breaking down into, this is who I am, this is what we do, and the credibility of the type of work that we've done in the past. So instantly what you want is someone to actually go, okay.
Yeah, I see why. You've given them a few reasons within a few short seconds why, you're qualified. Well, one, to actually take up their time, and then two, to actually do the job. Exactly,
yeah. You don't want to be talking at people. Like I said, not too many words, because they might turn around and go, I've got nothing to do with that.
I'm just not
wasted everyone's time then. So
we totally resonate with that. We do a few hundred cold calls a week, and we always try and make sure we get our message across within the first sort of 10 seconds. People are busy, they're obviously in the middle of something when you call them, so if you don't capture their attention and give them a good reason why they should give you another 15 seconds, you lose them. Indeed. Trying to get in there and really just qualify where we're best suited for them and why what we're selling actually, is valuable to them. Is something we try and get across really quickly. If there's anyone in the UK who's sort of helped several different businesses sell and work with a number of different types of businesses within the built environment, I'm sure it's you. If you were to kind of break down the process from going from I need more sales to actually starting to book more meetings with new potential clients, what does a good ideal process look like? So
going back to the beginning, when a client decides, yes, we want you to generate more sales for us, our role is to go through an implementation. And that's a detailed process because we're representing their brand, their company on the phone. So it's important we get to understand the business. And the process starts with just having a chat like we are now and just starting on, right, tell me about the business. Tell me about your unique selling points. Let's talk about some of the projects that you've done in the past. Then let's look at the projects you're going to do in the future. And then we home in on the type of people that they traditionally would talk to. Is it QSs? Is it technical people, design people? Where they might fit in the whole sales process. And once we've got that information, then it's down to us to put together how the sales pitch works, put together the database of the type of companies that they want to talk to, then train up a member of the team internally, and then it's a case of getting on the phone and talking to people. Again, we're not going into huge detail on that first call. We don't need to know the technical details of the product or the service going into it. What we need is to be able to conceptually get the message across. So going through from that, it's about calling up, speaking to people. I always say it's professionals. You've got to be professional. It's not like selling broadband on the phone to consumers. This is B2B. So you're talking to people, finding out if they're the right people. If they're the right people, then it's about finding out, is it suitable timing? Have they got a project coming up that it could be suitable for? If it's not, we'll call you back in 3 or 4 months' time when it will be suitable, because they will be if they're the right person, right business, wrong time, they'll be on a suitable project in the future. Likewise, if it is the right time, they might just look for a bit more information because we've just called them up. They might not know too much, so drop them an email and then give them a call back in a week or two and then book that meeting in for our client to go over and then take over the process from there.
Okay. So how did you actually get into sales and selling, in the built environment?
Yeah, I worked in construction, left school for a while, with Burns Brothers and that for a little while I was at college and university. My intention was originally to be an accountant. I was good with figures and I thought I'd be an accountant, and then I wanted to go travelling, so I took a sales job. where I was just getting on the phone and going out visiting people, and it was really good, and I really enjoyed it.
What were you selling?
That was business post services in the city, so an alternative to the Royal Mail.
Oh, okay.
Totally not in the industry at all, and it was just. But what it taught me was, I'd walk the streets of London trying to get the company details of who to look for, and then come back, bring my leads back, little compliment slips you'd pick up, then get on the phone and find out who's responsible for the mail in that building and where. And who do they use, and then go out and see if we could close a deal. So that taught me you've got to generate leads, got to get on the phone. The more leads you've got, the more opportunity you've got for sales. So then as my career progressed, I worked in corporate finance, vehicle leasing for quite some time, managed teams. I was always of the impression, the more sales opportunities you've got, the more choice you've got, the more success you've got. I'd see colleagues with 2 or 3 sales opportunities and they'd focus all their time on trying to close those. Whereas I'd rather have 10 and then pick which 2 or 3 I'd focus. Because I'd always say those people who have only 2 or 3 and focus all their time on those, if they had more opportunities, they might ditch them and go, they're not worthwhile. So create more opportunities gives you more choice of where you think you should, because you've only got a limited amount of time. Which ones are you going to focus your time on trying to close? And then I'd manage sales teams, and I was always of that ethos. Get on the phone, generate more opportunities. Let the admin staff do the admin for you. Your sales, get on the phone. It's all about generating leads. And it's something people just don't want to do. Really a hard thing for people to focus their time on doing that. So myself and business partner Tom Fitzgerald set up the business back in 2010. And decided after a short while we'll focus on the construction industry and built environment, because it's the same thing. People need more choice, because sometimes people get some tenders in and go, I'm going to try and win that, and then they look at it and go, I've never done housing before, but I've got this opportunity, I'll do it. Whereas if they had 10 or 12 opportunities, they might say those 4 I'm not going to tender for, because it costs money and time to do it. So that's where the philosophy came from. It was experience of being greedy, want to succeed, so wanting to have more choice. I think more choice in sales gives you the more chance of success.
Yeah, great. And how big is the team now? And what sort of the setup now? And how do you kind of work with clients?
Yeah, so so we've got an office in the UK and in Australia. So in the UK, we've got 28 members of staff. Wow. Mainly based out of our head office up in Luton, Bedfordshire. And in Australia, we're based out of Western Australia in Perth, where we've got about 15 people working for us over there. So it's great when we get some clients who do international work and we can work together on that. But Tom set up Australia 6-7 years ago now. And just took the ethos over there. To a country that, similar building ethos and that, and applied the process, and has been really successful in growing the business over there and developing relationships with clients.
So you mentioned that obviously, for just sales generally, one of the things that people avoid is cold calling. Why do you think people avoid it so much? And how can they get over some of maybe the fears and anxieties they have about cold calling?
Good question. One of them is you get on the phone, you could spend your first hour, make 20 calls and not speak to a single decision maker. Some people see that as demoralising and say, I've wasted an hour of my day. What we see it as, you're one step closer to getting through to that decision maker. Like anything, you've just got to keep digging because you'll get through it. People aren't available all the time. It's persistence. So that's probably the biggest thing, is people say, I've wasted my time for not getting through to anyone. That's got to be as a positive, that I'm one step closer to getting through to people. That's where the numbers game comes into it. Also, there's so many different forms of marketing. People try lots of different forms and they're all great. No one form is the answer for sales and marketing. A multitude of all of them works. But it's just, it can be a little bit, sometimes people... just their mind wanders onto other tasks. You've got a to-do list to do. There's a multitude of things in your thing. Setting aside a full day to get on the phone to make calls. If you're not being successful in the first couple of hours, something else suddenly creeps up that priority list. It's the natural order of things, which is great, because if everyone enjoyed it, we wouldn't exist. So that's why we exist, because people don't want to do it. People who are successful in it have the mindset of, that's fine, they're not in, I'll call the next person. And there are people out there to talk to. And it's persistence. It's having the right mindset of, I'm going to be successful. Think of that goal scorer who just hasn't scored in 15 games. You know, they don't pack up and give in. They think, I've got to get in the right positions every game. If I get in the right positions, the ball will come to me, I can put it in the net. The more times they do the right things, the right moves, the right runs, the more chance they've got of scoring. Same thing when you're doing it in cold calling, getting on the phone, is being persistent and doing the right things correct.
Yeah, great. And obviously you've grown the team over the last few years. What would you say is some of your most important lessons in sort of growing and training a sales team?
Interesting growing the team over the years. We've had a variety of individuals and I have two main criteria that I need for my team. That's personality and intelligence. The intelligence, because they have to be able to adapt to working on different products and services, and personality, because you've got to be able to communicate with people quite quickly, because at the end of the day, like I say, whilst trust is one thing, people buy from people as well. So how you come across on the phone, you don't want that big aggressive salesperson, you know, that you'd see in the Wolf of Wall Street sometimes, and that can be very off-putting to people. You know, we've got people from sales backgrounds, from construction backgrounds, university graduates, that have all been successful because they have those two core ingredients. And then it's breaking it down and taking it step by step. Because some products you don't need to explain. No one's getting on the phone and having to explain to a contractor what a scaffolder does. Because if you do, you're talking to the wrong person. So you're breaking the industry down into bite-sized chunks because you can't get an inexperienced person onto a complex sale. So we get them working with data, so getting our processes right on the phone, calling through data, finding out about projects, getting correct names for people to call for other members of the team, which is the step-by-step approach to building their knowledge of our systems and processes and understanding more about the industry and different clients in the industry.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think, that's one thing that we've learned, and I got some advice recently from a lady who also works in construction sales or selling into construction industry, which is take each and every cold call as an opportunity to learn. Even if it's a no or it's not the right person, using that opportunity to learn a few things about what that business does, what they're currently doing today, and using that for your next call potentially, or even just documenting that so that you kind of get better and know the industry more. So that's one thing that we're quite mindful of now and works quite well. And over time you end up, realizing, okay, I now know all of this stuff. Anytime someone says they use a different software or, they work on specific projects, we've got something to kind of say or resonate with because we've heard it before. Yeah. So obviously one thing is, getting out, doing cold calls and starting to win leads. So let's say you've done that part now, and as a contractor, you've started getting some leads in. What's next? What's next for them, and what's really important for taking those leads from interested to actually closing them?
Yeah, great question, because we always say to our clients, our role is to initially generate the sales leads for you. But it's all about closing at the end of the day, return on investment and making sure you close them down. So constantly getting new leads in and going to visit people or completing tenders and then going, right, I've done my job, I'll wait to hear from someone, is a complete no-no. And it's one of the biggest downsides in the whole sales process that I see so many times is the follow-up. So you contact someone, we set up a meeting, they go and see them, have a fantastic rapport, great meeting with them. And the person they're meeting says, do you know what? I've got something you might be interested in having a look at for us. I'll get in touch with you in 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks passes, nothing happens. 4 weeks passes, nothing happens. They drop them an email, don't hear back. Then they go, they mustn't have been interested. What you always have to remember is you're meeting someone for the first time. Whilst you could have the great meeting, everyone could just be forgotten because everyone's got a supply chain and they just resort to what they normally do. You've got to be in control of the process. So whenever someone would say, in that instance, do you know what, I've got something that might be interested, I'll send it over to you in 3 weeks' time. The response will be fantastic. Do you know what, I'll give you a call. And then it's getting on the phone and speaking to them. Don't rely on anyone ever coming back to you. And that's not saying people aren't telling the truth. They have best intentions of saying, I'll send you that tender in 2 or 3 weeks' time, or I'll get you included in this project. They'll have the best intention at the time, but things happen. You need to be in control and go, okay, do you know what? I'll contact you in 3 weeks' time to remind you. And then if it doesn't happen, just pick up the phone. Because so many times the response will just be, oh yeah, John, hi, sorry, I did mean to send that to you. I'll get that over to you straight away. Yeah. And that's the follow-up, even with tender responses. It's one of the most frustrating things you hear from clients is you spend all this time on tenders and you never get a response. Mm. That's across the industry. You know, people are always going, I never get a response. Pick up the phone. Because do you know what? Maybe they've value engineered the project and they haven't told you because you're new to the process for them. And that's the follow-up. So important. One, it helps you look keen and eager for it. Mm-hmm. 2, you make sure you get verbal confirmation of what happened in the process. You might not have been successful. Why? You might have been too cheap. Yeah, you might have been 40% out, and then you're like, hang on, what did I look at this wrong? There's so many, you can learn by it. But yeah, the follow-up is probably where so many people get fall down.
Yeah, I guess like so. You know, obviously they've got the lead, they've sent in the tender, and sometimes it kind of feels like when you're following up, you're kind of pestering the potential client. So what does good follow up actually look like?
Yeah, good question. So when you're following up, never leave a voicemail, because once you've left a voicemail, you're no longer in control. You can't call them back because then you're pestering them. Just call them back, and until you get through to them, you can keep trying. If you're emailing them, that's it. Again, you've lost control of the process. Until you speak to them, don't leave a message. That's what we've always gone by. But the follow-up message can be very simple. It's just, hi, John, we met 3 weeks ago. You talked about a project down in Berkeley Square that maybe we could have a look at. And it's that simple. I call it giving someone a nudge. It's that simple. It's reminding them. I think until your number is in that person's mobile phone, yeah, you won't be remembered, because people live busy lives and are meeting so many different people, talking to so many different people. And it shouldn't be taken personal that you've been forgotten. It just happens. But it's a simple nudge. So a lot of the time we say to our clients, look, if you don't have, be honest with yourself, if you're not going to follow up these tenders, these meetings, let us do it. Because we're not ringing up to close the deal, we're ringing up to give them a nudge. You know, once you've met someone, let us know what happened, and we'll ring them up and just say, hi, you mentioned about that job we could have a look at. Where is it? And you might find out it's a week delayed, or they'll send it over. And again, it's keeping it simple, just giving people that simple reminder.
Businesses that are growing, I think sometimes the first thing they do is try to bring like lead generation in-house. When they do that, what do you typically see them get wrong? And what do you think they could do better if they are looking to bring it in-house?
I would say the biggest mistake people have done when they bring it in-house is they give someone the data, the script, train them about the product and say, let's get making some calls. What typically happens is they're on the phone making calls, nothing happens, but then something goes on in the office and they need a resource to do something. So they go, let's get Jimmy over there. He's making calls, so it doesn't have any impact if we take him off that. And so many times someone will go from being brought in-house to do calling. 6 months later, they're doing
QSing.
An hour a week. Exactly, yeah. They could be doing so many different things because it doesn't have a fundamental impact on today. So if that person doesn't make any calls, their business doesn't change today. Obviously, it changes in the future. But when things happen in the business, they're the first person that will be called to do something else because it's the easiest resource to do. So that's the first mistake we've seen people doing. And one of the hard things that people find is just the environment. You know, being in an environment of an office of people pricing up jobs and they've got to get on the phone and making 100 calls. Quiet environment, people concentrating. People can become a bit self-conscious. Whereas in an environment where you've got a team of people doing it, you feed off each other and it helps, you know, create a bit of competitive spirit. No one's so self-conscious, you're egging each other on. So yeah, they're two core things, I think. And difficulties people have in doing it in-house.
So just to summarize there, I think it's really important if anyone wants to bring lead generation in-house is that they actually give that person or people the time to focus on that role specifically without pulling them into other things that distract them from that core focus. Yeah?
Indeed, yeah. If you're going to do it in-house, commit to it. Commit 100% and saying we're going to do that. Once you've committed to it, then you've got to look at the other steps, which are the data, your message, what you want that person to do on the phone. You know, you don't want them to sell your product or service. You want them to create interest. And that's sometimes the mistake as well. People think, I need to know everything about it because I've got to sell it. You don't. What you're doing is creating the concept, creating the picture in someone's mind. But yeah, you've got to commit to it and go, this is the resource I'm going to put in. I'm going to let them do that and I'm going to commit to it for a period of time and know they will not do anything else. Because if you split the day up, you suddenly see it just starts waning and they do something else.
And just one last question then, just for our audience or anyone who's actually watching. If you were to advise a contractor on to say next Monday, 3 practical things that they could do to close new leads by the end of next week, what would you tell them to do? If they had to focus on only just 3 things, what would you tell them to do?
First of all, their target market. Who do they want to speak to? So target market, so that they've got the message of where they've worked before. Who in that business they want to target as well. Some of these businesses could have thousands of people in there. Who's the right person they want to target? And then dedicate the time. So you've got the database together, you've got the right people, dedicate the time to it. You're not going to pick up the phone in 1 hour and generate new leads.
Great, no, some really good points. Thank you so much, James, for coming on the show today. We've learned a lot ourselves, and I'm sure our audience will as well.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Great.